Hi guys, it's Suzette from Anewyoricanthing, and today we're going to be making Bistec Encebollado, which is steak smothered in onions. So let's get started. We're going to do a full meal today. So we're going to do rice, and I'm going to be making small red beans today. A lot of people have been asking me how to make beans out of a can, which is super easy. 1, 2, 3. So let's get started so you can get a full meal. So this is the kind of steak I'm using today. Okay, you can use cube steak. Lots of people do. I mean, that's how I was taught, but I do kind of prefer this steak, and it's also a little cheaper than that cube steak. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, let's get started. So what I do is today, I'm going to make, there's a lot here, but I'm only going to make 3 pieces today. So I'm going to take 3 pieces out. We'll get started. I'm going to take out 3 nice pieces. Now you can season this all and then obviously put it in a Ziploc bag, and it's nicely seasoned for your next meal. Okay, so the first thing I like to do actually is tenderize the meat a little bit. So I'm just using, make sure when you're doing this that you're not going to break the meat up. Okay, so I'm just gonna pat it down a little bit. Okay guys, so the meat is all rinsed. Now what you're going to need your your adobo, okay? This is the homemade stuff, so please check out my video on how to make that. So we have 2 tablespoons of my homemade adobo. We're going to also need white vinegar. So I have a 1/4 cup of white vinegar. And we're gonna use about 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. And I do have salt just in case if you want to taste. What I like to do is I like to make sort of like a paste. So I'm going to add my oil in here. And I'm also going to add my vinegar. Okay? And what I do is I just stir it. I'm going to use my finger. And I'm going to taste it. Now, it tastes great to me. Of course, salt and pepper to your taste. The adobo has all of that in there. If you want to add more salt, you certainly can. To me, it's perfect. So what I like to do is just put my seasoning into the steak, get all that goodness out. Now, a lot of times when you're making this steak and you're adding the seasoning, it's a really great idea to kind of cover it and put it in the refrigerator and let it marinate, you know, for 30 minutes at least. An hour better, but not necessary, because many a times I've come home from work and I don't have time, and this is gonna happen just the way it is. So this is nicely, see how everything's coated? All the meat is coated. All that goodness is in there, okay? Now also, when you're making your, can't forget the onions. So I have 2 onions thinly sliced, okay, and that's gonna be for your steak. So let's go on over to the stove and sear our steak. You want to put your frying pan on a medium-high heat. I'm just going to put really a dab of oil, not much, just a dab. So we're gonna just move that around. That oil should be, you want it to be nice and hot, okay? Because all we're going to do is sear the meat, okay? Now, if you have a large quantity of steak, obviously what you want to do is, you know, take your time and sear it. So we're just going to sear that just for a few minutes. We want to sear it. In the meantime, I have started my rice. So we have I'm doing 2 cups of rice today. I use long grain rice. So I have 4 cups of water. And what we're going to do is we're going to add some oil. Okay. About a tablespoon and a half, I would say. You're gonna salt your water. I use kosher salt. And what you wanna do is put some salt in the water. What I do is I stir it and then I taste it to make sure there's enough salt in the water. So I'm gonna let that boil, come to a boil, then we'll taste it to make sure we have enough salt. But this could all be done as you're making your steak. So we're just going to brown that. It smells so good, guys, just with the adobo and the vinegar. because that vinegar just gives it such a nice tang. So this is exciting for dinner. And I love white rice and pink beans. So, and this is going to be so quick. So you guys out there that work and you need something really quick to make, this is really a quick meal. It was always one of my go-tos, you know, when I had to raise children and work. Okay, so I don't have room to put my third piece in there. So I'm just going to take one of those out so I can go ahead and do the next one. And nothing crazy, I just want to say, so now you see there's still more juices in there and flavoring. And we're going to add that all in here. And you're going to save all those juices that are in there, which is amazing. And then once we sear that one, we're going to actually, you know, of course, use all of this. We don't want to get rid of none of that goodness. Okay, I'm just going to take that one out. I'm going to let this one sear up. What you want to do is lower your heat to like a medium heat. I'm going to add my steak back in. And whatever goodness you have, add that in. More stuff. Oh, I need a spoon to get all this stuff out. Some people will like the onions in the steak because they like it really soft. The onions, that is. I don't. I add the onions later on. More towards the end of the dish, but you can certainly add them now, that's fine. I'm going to add some tomato sauce. And I'm going to say that that is about a 1/3 cup of tomato sauce, okay? Again, lower your heats, which I need to do. I'm going to put that on low, but I have an electric stove, so it takes a minute. And you're just going to, at this point, you're going to cover it and let the juices, which you're going to get liquid that's coming out of there. And when you add your onions, liquid will also accumulate from water coming out of the onions. Okay, so we're going to cover this and move on to the next step. Now I'm going to add a 1/3 cup of water. Okay. And we're just going to let that continue to simmer. That's going to take about 30 minutes, but in the meantime, let's start the beans. So what you're going to do not drain the juice. You're going to add 1 can. Again, these are the red beans, small kidney beans. If you want, you can do this for any kind of bean. So if you want to make pink beans, do the pink beans. If you want to do your black beans, I mean really, white beans, this recipe goes for them all. Okay, I'm going to put water in the can, okay? So it's almost full. And you're going to just, that's it. 1 can of water, 1 can of beans. I always cook the beans on a low temperature because they're already cooked, pretty much, okay? So what I like to do is on the side, get yourself a small frying pan. Okay, medium heat. And this is when you're going to need your sofrito. And we are going to use a tablespoon, a heaping tablespoon, because you know, how can you go wrong with sofrito? You can't. Okay, and we're going to add your sazon. Now if you're using the store-bought sazon, you're going to use a packet of that. You're going to use some more tomato sauce. And I'm gonna say that's about a 1/4 cup of tomato sauce. And you're gonna turn that on. And what you want to do right now is this is going to cook. And then you're going to add it to your beans. Okay? So it's great because while you're doing all this other stuff, your steak's cooking, your water's boiling, your beans are going, you're gonna have dinner in no time. Okay guys, so you see this is the sofrito with the tomato sauce and your sazon. And just let that cook down a little bit. It's starting to boil a little bit. At this point, I am going to add a little bit of my adobo. Just a little bit in there. I'm going to stir it up. Okay, and then what you're going to do is going to add it to your beans. Okay, so you see how it's bubbling? We're not, you know, you don't have to cook it for a long time. It's just basically cooking down the sofrito just a little bit. Turn it off. Look at this, guys. Dump it in your beans. Okay, it's really so simple. and it's going to be so delicious. Now today I'm adding potatoes. All I did was cut with 1 potato in cubes. Add that in there. And you're going to let that simmer basically until your potatoes are done, beans are done. And look at this fabulousness. In the meantime, our water is boiling. I've tasted the water. It is slightly salty, which is what you want. And I'm making 2 cups of long grain rice. If you're using medium grain, you're gonna use the same amount of water. So 2 cups of rice, 4 cups of water. You're gonna stir it. Now remember what I always tell you about the rice. You're gonna leave it alone. You're not gonna keep stirring it. It's gonna boil, and then we're gonna cover it and lower the flame. So for right now, we have to bring that to a boil and let the water absorb. Beans are cooking, steak's cooking, we're almost done. Okay guys, see how the water has absorbed and I have not touched it, okay? It's still on the high heat. Now's the time that you're going to mix it. Okay, and I like to really put it like in a little mound. If you can. You're gonna lower the heat at this point to low, and you're going to cover it. And again, we're not going to touch it for another 15 minutes. Let that cook. Don't uncover it. No need to mix it again. 15 minutes, let it finish cooking. You're gonna mix it again. In the meantime, our beans are slightly coming to a boil here. Okay guys, so the rice has been cooking for 15 minutes. Look at that, see how perfect that is? See, we didn't touch it, we did nothing. Keep it covered, you can keep it on low because pretty much it's done. Now moving on to the beans. Okay, once those, and now you see how it's simmering. And once again, like your potatoes are soft, which it's probably almost about ready. The potatoes need to get just a little bit softer. And then your beans will be done. In the meantime, while that's still cooking, I have my steak. And at this point, we're going to add the onions. Okay, I'm just gonna put them right on top. Okay. And just let that cook. There we go, guys. The steak, the onions look amazing. I think it's time to eat. Everything's done. Okay guys, there is the finished product. Look at how beautiful that looks, and this is dinner. I'm so glad you guys were able to hang out with me today. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you like and subscribe to my channel. See you guys soon.